This is Dante Williams, and you're watching
DONTAE'S
Boxing Nation.
This is Showtime Sean Portland. Filipino Flash, Jesse Burns.
This is Al Bernstein. You're watching DONTAE'S Boxing Nation.
Hi, I'm Sugar Ray.
Chick Shape.
Sergio, the last name
DONTAE'S Boxing Nation.
Yo, this is Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder.
My name is Gennady Golovkin.
And you're watching
DONTAE'S Boxing Nation.
DONTAE'S Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So as you guys probably heard by now, Deontay Wilder, he'll be facing Andre Wawrzyk. I believe it's February 25th out there in Alabama. Now, that's really not too much of big news, but I think what is really big news is the fact that Deontay Wilder's manager, he just recently said that they want to face Joseph Parker next, assuming that Deontay Wilder wins his next fight and Joseph Parker wins his next fight. They're looking at possibly facing each other in sometime in the middle of 2017, close to summer. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and quote exactly what Deontay Wilder's manager had to say. It depends on how February 25th goes against Andre Wawrzyk. If Deontay Wilder does not get any wear or tear or injuries, anything goes. It depends how February 25th goes against Andre Wawrzyk. If Deontay Wilder does not get any wear or tear or injuries, everything goes. We would rather fight in the middle of the year, and if a Parker fight in the middle of the year is available, we would love that opportunity, end quote. So this is pretty interesting news. Now, for those of you guys who don't really know too much about Wawrzyk, he has one loss on his record. He got knocked out by Alexander Povetkin. I believe it was in the third round. So clearly, you know, this is no type of challenge for Deontay Wilder. We already know that Deontay Wilder, he called out Anthony Joshua. He was supposed to be fighting the guy who knocked out his next opponent, Wawrzyk, which is Alexander Povetkin. But Alexander Povetkin, he's having problems these days passing random drug tests in the sport of boxing. So on to the next for Deontay Wilder. Now, and as I just said, Wilder, he called out Joshua. He pursued the Povetkin fight. And now Team Wilder, they're saying they're interested in facing Joseph Parker for a unification bout, which would be a huge fight. And I would definitely lean towards Deontay Wilder in that fight. I wasn't impressed with Joseph Parker's performance against Andy Ruiz. He looked very timid. He did not look as confident as he was looking when he was facing lesser opposition, you know, before. So because of that, I just see Deontay Wilder possibly knocking out Joseph Parker if they were to face each other. But, you know, once again, both fighters have to get past their next opponents, which I assume that they will. I believe that Joseph Parker, he's looking at Hughie Fury. Now, that right there is another really competitive fight. So when it comes to Joseph Parker, there's no guarantee he'll get past Hughie Fury. It's interesting because they were even talking about Deontay Wilder possibly fighting Hughie Fury as well. But I guess it's Joseph Parker who's going to get his hands on Fury before Deontay Wilder does. Now, you know, something I wanted to touch on when it comes to, of course, Deontay Wilder and, of course, the coincidental list, the hope list. I find it interesting that, you know, a lot of boxing fans that defend Gennady Golovkin, they often try to compare Golovkin's situation to Deontay Wilder's situation. Now, what makes the situation really ironic is they defend Golovkin, but they don't defend Deontay Wilder, right? They'll sit over here and say he doesn't fight anyone, he keeps fighting tomato cans, etc., etc., etc. Now, I just explained to you guys that Wilder, he's called out Anthony Joshua, Povetkin, and he's now calling out Joseph Parker. He was on a collision course with Tyson Fury until Tyson Fury had a cocaine breakdown. So here we are today. Now, I bring this up because I want people to understand, because I've got quite a few people, who've asked me, what do I think about Deontay Wilder's competition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When you are comparing Deontay Wilder to Gennady Golovkin, the first thing you have to realize is when it comes to Deontay Wilder, no one is praising Deontay Wilder as one of the greatest fighters in the last 25 years, like ESPN did with Gennady Golovkin. No one is comparing Deontay Wilder to Muhammad Ali. They're not comparing him to Marvin Hagler like they're doing with Gennady Golovkin. No one is saying, that Deontay Wilder is possibly pound for pound the best fighter in the world. They're saying all of these things about Gennady Golovkin. So when you say all of these things about Gennady Golovkin, people are going to ask you to show and prove. Naturally, right? When it comes to Deontay Wilder, there are no number one, number two pound for pound fighters that have been aggressively calling out Deontay Wilder, calling up his people, let's make a deal. Like Golovkin's situation, right? There are no Andre Wards calling out Deontay Wilder. There are no Edis Laras talking about, man, I'll move up and wait and fight you, Deontay Wilder. There's no one doing this with Deontay Wilder. So to make that comparison to Gennady Golovkin, it's a ridiculous comparison. And I think we all know, if we're being honest with ourselves, Deontay Wilder, he's willing to face the most dangerous opponents that could possibly beat him in the heavyweight division. Because we know right now, Wilder versus Anthony Joshua, that's a 50-50 fight. Some people give Wilder no chance against Anthony Joshua, right? We know this. Or even Wilder versus the winner of Joshua Vladimir Klitschko, because there's a very good chance that Vladimir Klitschko can win that fight. Okay? Joseph Parker, even though I would pick Wilder to beat Joseph Parker, but Joseph Parker is another champion. And Deontay Wilder, he wants to obviously get all the belts. Matter of fact, speaking of that, something else that Deontay Wilder's manager said in that piece that I didn't play or I didn't read, he said it's a shame when the average person on the streets does not know who the heavyweight champion is. This is the reason why we want to basically unify the belt so everyone knows who the heavyweight champion is. I'm paraphrasing, but this is pretty much what Deontay Wilder's manager said. And, it's really good when you hear Deontay Wilder's own people say that, because that's showing that they really want to prove that they are the best in the division. Now, when I make this comparison and when I say these things, this is not to say anything bad about Gennady Golovkin. This is just to get you fans to understand that all boxers are supposed to be created equal. So when Golovkin was knocking out Rosado, Adama, Willie Monroe, you same fans, you were praising him and still comparing him to Hagler, even when he was fighting Marco Antonio Rubio. So how do you turn around now and try to say, oh, that's why I don't like this Wilder, or they try to play, they try to, use reverse psychology and say, oh, I do like him, I just want him to step up in competition, but they don't say this about Gennady Golovkin. Once again, like I said, when Golovkin was fighting against the Monroes, the Adamas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I'll leave you with this question. If you guys could put money on one thing happening before the other, what do you think we have more of a chance of seeing first? Wilder go against the winner of Joshua versus Klitschko, or Gennady Golovkin fighting Andre Ward, or even Sergey Kovalev? You would most likely expect Deontay Wilder to face Anthony Joshua or Klitschko before Golovkin faces Andre Ward or Kovalev, right? Now, I know some of you guys are going to say, hey, man, well, the difference is Golovkin, he would have to move up in weight. And, you know, Deontay Wilder, he's facing guys in his own division. But the reason why I make that comparison is because, once again, if we're talking about what opponents both of these guys need to get the respect and catapult their career into pound-for-pound status, these are the type of opponents that they need to beat, right? Now, while Gennady Golovkin has a very good opponent, and that's a step in the right direction, facing Danny Jacobs next, in order for him to catapult his career and propel into pound-for-pound status, he's still going to have to beat someone on that list, on that pound-for-pound list, or even someone exactly on his level. Once again, when you look at fights like Thurman versus Danny Garcia, you look at fights like even Lomachenko versus Nicholas Walters, you look at fights like that, those are fights where you can evenly, it can be split down the middle of who's going to win, right? When you look at Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua, that is a 50-50 fight right there, okay? We need to see Gennady Golovkin in a 50-50 type of fight. Deontay Wilder has already been in a 50-50 type fight when he fought against Bermane Stiverne. I actually picked Bermane Stiverne to win that fight. That just goes to show you the level of opposition that Wilder was in the ring with, okay? So once again, I broke that down for you fans that keep making this comparison, comparing Deontay Wilder to Gennady Golovkin. The comparison makes no sense, and if race had nothing to do with this, Deontay Wilder or you fans would be defending Deontay Wilder the same way you defend Gennady Golovkin. But because this sport is racially driven and divided, we're not going to get that. So that's pretty much what it is. Now, I'm going to close out by saying this. Now, if assuming, which we truly all believe, that Deontay Wilder will knock out Wawrinka, assuming he gets past Wawrinka, right? And we find out that Joseph Parker is pushing for that fight. We find out that the winner of Anthony Joshua versus Klitschko, they're pushing for a Deontay Wilder fight. And Deontay Wilder's people, they're saying stuff like, oh, we're not interested right now, maybe next year, or, you know, I need to get this kind of money if I fight him, or, you know, if we get all of these type of excuses and we see other opponents, other fighters aggressively calling out Deontay Wilder, then you could say that this man Deontay Wilder, he's ducking, he's playing games, etc., etc. But right now, we know that Deontay Wilder is interested in facing all of these guys. Okay? So, you know, that's pretty much all I got for now, and I'm on to the next one.
Hi, you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. Woo!